Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. You search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Before we get to some NFL news that I found, well, more damning to one side than the other, let's hand out a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
Yeah, you know how we do it. We like to hand out shovels to people who said or did something stupid, whack them right upside the head. You can do so as well on my Twitter account, at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Just use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. And today my shovel goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you may be wondering why it's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we found out that last night that the naming rights to their stadium, Heinz Field, are coming to an end, and Heinz is not renewing their stadium rights. Wow. And it's not so much that bothers me. Heinz Field is iconic. And I feel like it should be replaced by another condiment. But it's not. An insurance company, Acrisure, is now going to be what Heinz Field is. It's going to be Heinz Field. I'll always call it Heinz Field. But like French's, Golden, Sweet Baby Ray's, Frank's Hot Sauce, something like that. They couldn't get involved in this whole thing. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Acrisure. That's so disappointing. It's so incredibly, incredibly disappointing. I was so hoping for, something much, much better. Okay. Anyway, this segment of the show brought to you by our good friends over at Coffee AM. Over the weekend, there was a story leaked out, and it had to have been leaked by the Cleveland Browns, that Baker Mayfield, was, according to Chris Mortensen of ESPN, that the team, he said that the team wanted an adult in the room, which is why they traded him. And now the Athletic is saying in the post Baker Mayfield era that the Browns were talking about how Baker is viewed as childish and immature. His behavior annoyed teammates, divided the locker room. He was often difficult to coach. The fact that this is coming out now to me is kind of laughable, only because there was plenty, and I mean plenty of evidence to show you that Baker was all of those things that you just said he was, and you knew that, and yet you still, drafted him anyway. And let's just look at the short list, shall we? The short list of things that Baker did. Okay. And all of these are, when you look at it truly, they are off the field incidents. But what I mean off the field is like not actually things that happened in a football game, right? You can go back to when Baker had to run from the cops and there was video of it, right? There was the one game on the sidelines where he kind of grabbed his, and made a gesture at the other team's sideline. And then, of course, he had to run and stick the Oklahoma flag in the middle of the O in Ohio State in Columbus. Those last two things happened on the field, but they weren't part of the game. And it just goes to show you that whatever Baker's attributes were inside the game, that the ones that he displayed outside the game ultimately were more of who he was than who he wasn't. The problem for the Cleveland Browns is you knew all this and you ignored it anyway. That's why I think this news reflects more poorly on the Browns scouting department, the Browns front office, and their entire decision-making process, because everybody saw this. Everybody saw Baker was divisive, that he liked to fight, that he liked to be verbal, and sort of, when I say fight, I mean like, verbally, I guess, spar with people. I mean, heck, him and Colin Cowherd went back and forth nonstop before he ever took a snap in the NFL. But because that's a young man who wanted to be able to speak his piece instead of just putting his head down and going to play football. So there is a lot that reflects poorly on the Cleveland Browns here. And I want to get to one more piece of it here. But first, a good word from our friends at Coffee AM. Folks, I've told you about Coffee AM. I didn't know it when the package got to my house that it was going to have this kind of impact on my life, because it is some of the best coffee I've ever had. It's never tasted so good. And it's Atlanta-based small batch coffee roaster. And you can get coffee from all over the world. The freshest coffee you can get. Most of the coffees, by the way, roasted and shipped the exact same day or close to it. And they only roast current crop specialty grade coffee and a huge selection. Coffees all over the world. Organic, fair trade, direct trade, expertly crafted blends, espresso flavored coffees, gourmet teas, and more. In fact, I had the coffee from Sumatra yesterday. I mean, it is fantastic. And the local roasting, it all goes right here in your backyard. So go to coffeeam.com/locked on today. Take a look at their full menu of coffees, teas, and gift sets. That's coffeeam.com/locked on. Use the coupon code locked on at checkout to get 15% off your order of coffees, teas, and gift sets. Your first order of coffee, teas, and gift sets. Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in Atlanta. Again, use the code locked on. Okay, back to Baker here. Because one of the things that really is that we see every single year that happens, and you get the roar from the public and the fans and the social media world. Whenever a dumb story comes out or is perceived like a dumb story, like, oh, this guy got written up for having weed in his dorm room, it was like, oh, that's no big deal. Well, you're right. It might not be a big deal. But when all these stories came out about Baker Mayfield, you could individually look at them and go, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like a college kid running from the cops. Oh, yeah. All he did was, I mean, it's inappropriate to grab your junk. You didn't know he was on TV. You didn't know anybody was going to see. Like, you can sort of try to rationalize all these things away. But there are two main factors. One, all of the incidents together matter. And two, when it's a quarterback, it's always important, because the number one skill that you want to have in your quarterback between the ears is decision-making ability, right? What am I seeing? What am I reading? Where do I throw? What is the defense going to do? What if I do this? How does this work out? And all that's got to be done very, very quickly. And if you can't exude good decision-making ability, well, then, hey, it could be problematic. That's why it's kind of relieving to hear Arthur Smith talk about Desmond Ridder and how cerebral he is, because at least maybe the kid will make good decisions. Because making good decisions is all about what quarterback play is. All right, that'll do it for us today. Back tomorrow with a recap of Game 1 of the Braves-Mets series. Going to be huge. Sit back tonight, have a couple of cold ones, and enjoy what is going to be an excellent series on several fronts. Make sure you guys give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Back tomorrow for another edition of A to Z right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. You search Locked On Sports Atlanta. You guys have a great day. Don't take a crap from anybody. See ya.